Hi everyone, this is Dr. Nitin Chhoda and welcome to this episode of Ignition Time. Folks, thank you so much for being a viewer. Thank you so much for being a subscriber. I'm going to give you some interesting news you haven't heard before about the status of the impeachment trial, about the stimulus negotiations, about the future of vaccine distribution. Some big news today from President Biden, also about infrastructure. Let's just jump right in. No news story is complete without some new information about the former President Trump. I actually covered former President Trump's health crisis extensively when he got COVID and when he was admitted to Walter Reed. I covered it extensively, and I was covering the information that we got from his doctors. Well, guess what, folks? There's some new information that has now emerged that tells us that we were not given the full picture about the President of the United States. Let me show you this on your screen right here. This is a tweet from Manuel Roeg Franzia, who works with the Washington Post, and Manuel reports that the public had not been told that former President Trump's blood oxygen level alone was cause for extreme concern, dipping into the 80s, according to people familiar with the evaluation. The disease is considered severe when blood oxygen level falls down to the 90s. And folks, Maggie Haberman from the New York Times pointed out that Trump had infiltrates on his lungs, and officials believed he would need to be put on a ventilator before former President Trump was taken to Walter Reed Hospital with the pandemic last fall. Pretty incredible, folks. One thing's for sure, almost 500,000, almost 500,000 of our fellow Americans have fallen victim to this pandemic. I personally know someone, a close friend of mine, who unfortunately fell victim to this. This is a very serious matter, and it's very clear that the Biden administration is also taking this seriously. So let me show you a new tweet on your screen, folks, from Caitlin Collins over at the New York Times. And Caitlin reports, and by the way, folks, I retweet all this, so here's my Twitter feed right here. So please make sure to follow me on Twitter. Caitlin reports that President Biden said that while scientists did their job in discovering vaccines in record time, my predecessor, I'll be very blunt about it, did not do his job in getting ready for the massive challenge of vaccinating hundreds of millions of our fellow Americans. In fact, I have a video, folks. I have a video of President Biden, and I'll be showing you that video as well. But one thing's for sure, folks, President Biden is extremely busy, and he's actually creating the foundation, folks, for his infrastructure plan. President Biden's infrastructure plan is the Build Back Better agenda. Right now, all eyes are on the American Rescue Plan. But folks, 6 months from now, you and I will be talking about the Build Back Better agenda, where the Biden administration wants to focus on infrastructure, wants to focus on the modernization of our schools, of our roads, of our bridges. And so this is going to be the next major package, which the Republicans also want. This is, again, a very strategic move from the Biden administration, where they are focusing on something that is popular first, and then shifting gears and focusing on something that is bipartisan, the infrastructure plan, which the Trump administration never really got around to doing. Pretty interesting stuff. Speaking of interesting stuff, folks, let's take a look at a new announcement from President Biden on your screen right now. And President Biden said, we've now purchased enough vaccine to vaccinate all Americans. And he announced the purchase of 200 million more doses, folks, Moderna and Pfizer. I myself, I just want our viewers and subscribers to know I took the Pfizer vaccine 48 hours ago, the first dose, and I feel fine. But I do know a bunch of people who didn't feel so fine and who were knocked out the next day. So I guess it really depends. I mean, I feel fine. I kind of didn't feel anything. And let's get back to the president. The president says we're now on track to have enough vaccine. We're now on track to have enough supply for 300 million Americans by the end of July. In fact, I tell you what, let's listen to the president of the United States and let's see what he had to say. Let's go ahead and play the video.
We bought more vaccines. 2 weeks ago, I directed Jeff Zients, who's here with me, my COVID-19 response coordinator, to work with the Department of Health and Human Services to purchase more vaccines. Just this afternoon, we signed the final contracts for 100 million more Moderna and 100 million more Pfizer vaccines. We're also able to move up the delivery dates with an additional 200 million vaccines to the end of July, faster than we expected. And in further good news, both companies agreed, and we're now contractually obligated to expedite delivery of 100 million doses that were promised them by the end of May. That's a month faster. That means lives will be saved. That means we're now on track to have enough supply for 300 million Americans by the end of July. It may not sound like the urgent progress we need, but let's be clear. When I took office just 3 weeks ago, this country did not have a plan or enough vaccines or people to vaccinate Americans. All Americans, anytime, at any point in 2021. Within 3 weeks, round-the-clock work with so many people standing behind me and in front of me. We've now purchased enough vaccine supply to vaccinate all Americans. And now we're working to get those vaccines into the arms of millions of people.
Folks, that is pretty encouraging, whichever way we look at it. More vaccines is good. And folks, speaking of future priorities of President Biden, let's actually show you what the future priority of the president is. This is from President Biden's Twitter account. This morning, I met with a bipartisan group of senators to discuss the need to invest in modern and sustainable infrastructure. Folks, what's going on is that the president is already laying down the foundation of the next step, the infrastructure plan. And if you notice something interesting, what President Biden has been doing is under-promising and then over-delivering. This is a classic example of trying to manage expectations. You under-promise and then over-deliver so that you gain and then you ride that wave of popularity. So that is actually what is going on. This channel, we talk about the country, the economy, and about your money. President Biden also says this isn't a partisan issue. And let's show you his tweet. He said, "This isn't a partisan issue, and I'm committed to working across the aisle to deliver infrastructure and jobs to communities across the country." So, folks, that's what President Biden is busy with. Let's take a look at Jeff Stein from the Washington Post, who talked about the interest cost of borrowing money. Now, this is important because the Republicans are very concerned about the cost of borrowing money. Let's actually take a look at this fascinating chart here, folks. Let me actually show it to you folks on full screen here. And let me actually hide myself and show you. So folks, what this basically means is that the interest cost of all the money that we are borrowing was high in the 1990s and then towards the end of the 90s before 2000 because the interest rates were higher. But now, because the interest rates are at or near all-time lows, it's cheaper, folks. It's cheaper to borrow all the money. So all this talk about deficits and debts, and by the way, I have done another video talking about the link between the federal deficit and stimulus, so you definitely want to check that out. A majority of the income of the US government comes from taxpayers like you. And what happens is when the actual economy can achieve the full potential, there's actually a difference between actual economic status and potential economic status, and the way you bridge that gap is with stimulus, helping people get back on their feet. Then the new economic reality, the potential, will result in more people with jobs, higher paying jobs, which in turn will create more income for the federal government. And by the way, that is what is expected to happen in the next 5 to 10 years. And then the federal government can come back to this chart and then make their monthly payments. So folks, this is quite significant because what this chart is showing us is that even though the actual debt load is very high, because the interest rate payments are low, because for example, folks, let's say you live in a $200,000 home, right? Your mortgage payment is going to be probably 15, 16, 1700, whatever it is every month. Your ability to make the monthly payments, your ability to service your debt load is more important than the total amount of debt, because if you can manage your debt, and by the way, you can manage your debt if the interest rates are low, because US government is now finding it easier to manage its debt because of low interest rates, then that actually supports the case for larger stimulus and going all out right now. So folks, let me know if we should go all out right now with stimulus. I believe we should because of the debt load that I showed you. And then that should be followed by an infrastructure plan. One individual who's not really going all out is Senator Rick Scott from Florida. Let me show you this tweet on your screen from Ben Siegel, who's a reporter. Senator Rick Scott has been filling out a blank map of Asia with the names of countries while the impeachment trial was going on. And while you're at it, there's some news about former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo spending more than $10,000 of taxpayer funds Check that out, folks. Spending more than $10,000 of taxpayer funds on engraved Madison dinner branded pens that he gifted to attendees of his dinner parties, according to some reports that were obtained. Pretty incredible, folks. Very few things surprise me anymore, but that's where things stand. Please comment below. Please let me know what you thought of this video, of this new update, if you will. Thank you so much for watching. Please click like, please subscribe, please enable notifications. That would mean a lot to me personally. I really appreciate you watching. That does help out the YouTube algorithm if you decide to do that. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next episode of Ignition Time. Take care. Bye.